You ever sign up for something and somewhere along the way you think, yeah, this might have been a mistake? Like that time I signed up for hot yoga at the community college. Now imagine having that moment, not in a hot yoga community college studio, but at mile 30 on a dark road without much sleep, body's starting to give out, toenails are just gone. That's a thing of the past. And you've still got 20 miles to go. That is the 50-mile march. And today, we're not just talking about what it is. We're talking to people who've actually lived it. A husband and wife team, truck drivers from a military family. They trained for it, they showed up for it, and they didn't have the same ending. One of them finished, one of them didn't. Yet somehow, they're going back to it this year. And this is what the 50-mile march really looks like. Now, this isn't the only part of the show that you'll hear today. We also brought in a very experienced person to talk to us about it. That would be Brianne Schuler. And trust me, she's in the know. So strap in. Put on your 50-pound ruck, maybe, and get ready for this episode because we're talking all about the 50-mile march today.
Welcome to the gold standard of podcasts for the gold standard of drivers. This is the Liquid Trucking Podcast with your host, Marcus Bridges.
What's good out there, Liquid Trucking, and welcome into episode 123 of the Liquid Trucking Podcast. Of course, I am your host, Marcus. Thank you so much for being here with me today. A little bit of an interesting dynamic in today's episode. We've had to record this episode kind of cattywampus, if you will, all over the place. We've had to use different times. One of the interviews was done a while ago. One of the interviews was done just here recently. We have to work around a lot of people's schedules and doing what we do here. So I just wanted to tell you guys that because you're going to hear Amanda in part of today's episode, and then, much like right now, you won't hear her in other parts of today's episode. Right, Amanda? Okay, so Amanda's not here. I just wanted to make sure and get that across to you guys. She was here for part of the episode, but she's got some things she's got to take care of, and so we took the pressure off of her today and gave her the rest of the day off. So don't think that she's gone anywhere. I know sometimes when you do a show with somebody and you start to introduce them and they become a part of the show and they become, just like a co-host, and then all of a sudden they're gone, people panic. Oh my God, people panic. So I wanted to come off the top of the show today and just say, listen, we just gave her a little bit of time off. She's been working hard. She deserves it. So we'll have Amanda back for episode 124, and you'll even get her for a little bit of episode 123 today. So don't fret. Moving on to the homework, podcast.liquidtrucking.com. That's where you want to go. I know that this isn't a video podcast, but I just did a really cool thing with my fingers where I made like a motion like podcast.liquidtrucking.com, and I put them together in the middle. You guys will never see it, but it was awesome. That's the website that you want to head to. That is our podcast landing page. Of course, everything that we get into on this podcast, you can find there, whether it's the episode descriptions, who we were talking to, or what we're talking about, or a specially curated list of playlists for you. We got some metrics up there. We're pitting you guys against each other, seeing who really is the top dog. And, of course, you can get some merch up there as well. And if we've got any photo galleries or anything like that that correspond to any of our episodes, they'll be up there as well. We'll make sure and get some info on the 50-mile march up on the website for this episode, because that's what we're here to talk about today, the 50-mile march. The very, very decorated 50-mile march. Now, if you've never heard of the 50-mile march before, the 50-Mile March Foundation empowers veterans facing mental health challenges and homelessness by fostering a community of hope and relentless support. That's as simple as I can put it for you. But let me tell you, there's so much more here. Nearly 150 of Nebraska's veterans are experiencing homelessness right now. Veteran homelessness has increased by 7% in 2023. 17 veteran lives are lost to suicide daily. That's a really big number. And 1 in 4 veterans faces a mental health issue. 1 in 10 struggle with multiple diagnoses. And what the 50-mile march is here to do is to foster a community, bring these people together, get them trained up to ruck 50 miles. And let me tell you, it is a very serious deal. And today we are going to welcome Brianne Schuler in, who's going to talk to us about what the 50-mile march is. And she's a very good person to have on. She's sort of in charge of the thing. So we'll get the kind of the breakdown on exactly what the march is, what the mission is, and we'll hear some success stories that have come out of the 50-mile march from Brianne. After that, very special guest joining us today, a husband and wife team that last year decided to start their journey with the 50-mile march. Now, there's a lot involved here. You got to raise money. You got to qualify. If you can't meet your times and beat a certain threshold at the 20-mile mark, you might not even get to March. So this is a serious thing, and it is a big undertaking, especially when I tell you that Steve and Gina, the husband and wife team that did the 50-mile march, are truck drivers. They're a truck driving team, right? So not only are they out there finding a way to train and be able to walk 50 damn miles, but they're doing it while they're also cruising around the country delivering all the goods that you and I use every single day. And of course, on top of that, Steve himself is a veteran of the Army, and Gina has 2 sons right now enlisted. So military mom there as well. Such a cool episode. This whole episode came together so well. It was a bummer that Amanda wasn't here to enjoy all of it with me because we got 2 fantastic interviews. She was only here for one of them. I really think she would have liked Gina a lot, though. Yeah, I saw a lot of similarities between Amanda and Gina just in kind of their go-getter of an attitude. But I'll tell you right now, these episodes, you guys, are the ones that make my heart absolutely full. I have a giant soft spot for veterans. I have a giant soft spot for anybody dealing with mental health issues and illness. And I just can't stomach the fact that we lose some 17 veterans a day to suicide. It's just not okay. And like many of the things that we get into on this podcast, this one is a little bit more about veterans than it is about truckers, but we're going to make it about truckers because we want to involve as many of you guys as we can. It's still early. The 50-mile march doesn't happen until August 22nd and 23rd. So there's still a chance for you to get in, sign up, raise your money, train your miles, pass the threshold, and get to March. And the cool thing about it is it's in Omaha, Nebraska. So those of you liquid drivers that are close to the Plattsmouth, Omaha area, you wouldn't even have to go that far if you wanted to participate. So stay tuned for the rest of this episode, dude, because it's a really powerful one. Not every single episode that we do has what I would call a thick gravity, and this one has a thick gravity, and I love it because it's good, and it's a type of gravity that we should all spend some time with once in a while. Gets a little bit emotional, and that's okay, right? We've done that before on this podcast. Nothing new to you guys. You guys have heard me tear up over a fictitious dog on this podcast. So emotion's nothing new, and we welcome it. And today we got a little bit of it. I'm so excited to welcome all of our guests to the show today. So let's get Brianne Schuler in here. Let's get Amanda back from wherever she's at. We'll mix it up real quick and find out exactly what the 50-mile march is all about. You know, Amanda, I'm very excited for this next segment because nothing says trucking endurance like a 50-mile march with a rucksack on your back. And today on the podcast, we're very lucky to welcome the director of the 50-mile march, Brianne Schuler. Brianne, thank you so much for being here today. What an awesome organization you've got. I can't wait to hear about it.
So glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Now, let's just start off the top. For listeners hearing about this for the first time, what is the 50-mile march in plain English?
Well, in plain English is important. Back in 2020, our founder, Jay Morales, he was a 10-year Air Force veteran, got out of service, went through kind of a nasty divorce, found himself living in his car here in Bellevue, Nebraska, spent 10 months homeless, tried to take his own life twice. And through that time, his talk track was, I want to do something to help veterans because once I get out of this situation, I don't want anybody else to be where I'm at right now. Took more than 20 years, but in 2020 for his 50th birthday, he made the decision to walk 50 miles from Lincoln, Nebraska to Omaha, Nebraska, with the goal of raising funds and awareness for veterans' causes that he cared about. It was supposed to be a one-time event, but here we are. We're entering our 7th year of our campaign. Last year, instead of the 6 walkers we had in year 1, we had 166 walkers complete the march and raise over $800,000 for the organization. So in 6 short years, we've gone from a $25,000 event to an $800,000 organization, with grant making, a soon to be developed campus. So it's come a long way in just
Wow.
6 years.
And what are the main things that you're doing with the funds that are being raised, Brianne?
So we started as a foundation. So all of the funds that were raised by the first 3 years of our event went directly back into nonprofits serving veterans here in the Omaha metro community. To date, we've funded just over $600,000 in grants, from everything to PTSD treatment, mental health, physical health, scuba diving and skydiving, equine therapy, guitar lessons, really core human needs,
Yeah.
housing and food insecurity, but other things that make people feel connected and not alone, find purpose and meaning. And so we love to be able to support a lot of the scrappy grassroots efforts here in the local community that provide veteran services on the front lines.
I love hearing all of those examples because, as a musician myself, I can't tell you how much better it makes me feel to just sit down behind my drum set for 15 minutes and just let go. And I hear something like guitar lessons, something that simple really could pull somebody out of the hole that they're in and help them feel like there's a better way to go about life. There's better things in my future. I don't have to end things here today. I think that's just an amazing message to send, Brianne.
Holistic care matters. It's more than just the basic needs. We want to make sure people are thriving.
So tell me, when someone signs up, what are they actually signing up for? Because I hear 50-mile march and I think that sounds like I'm going to be walking for 50 miles. So lay it on
Well,
me.
you are. You are. A lot of times folks come to us and say, well, it's a relay, right? Or I get a team. I think we're also conditioned to the marathon or the ultra marathon. This looks radically different than that. It's not just a you sign up for it and show up. It's truly a process. So every year we open our applications to March the subsequent year in August. So people have from August to December to sign up for the March. I think a lot of times they don't know what they're getting themselves into, though we have a number of return participants. But in that time, they get to do a little bit of soul searching on whether they're in or not. We do an initial mission briefing in January each year. So that's when we onboard everyone. We have folks coming this year from 21 different states. So not everybody is local to Nebraska, but we do an initial mission briefing, let people know what to expect. So all of our participants raise a minimum of $2,500. Most of them are training between 500 and 1,000 miles per year for the march. Then there's a qualifier ruck in April that's a 20-mile qualifier with a 15-pound pack. Once all of those milestones have been met, then they have the privilege of marching with us in August. So it's not just a physical challenge. And I know some folks come to us approaching it that way, but they realize it's so much more than that. It's a supportive community. We put people in smaller groups in platoons to train. So they're getting that support, community connection. They're learning about each other because at 3 o'clock in the morning when your feet are hurting, your back is hurting, and you want to quit, those are the folks you're going to lean on to try to finish. So the march itself takes place over about 22 hours of actual walking, about a 3.0 mile an hour pace, which is slow. I encourage listeners, if you're walking on a treadmill or out in the community, 3.0 is slow. And so if you come to us as a runner, it's an exercise in frustration because
Yeah.
it moves pretty, but again, we're keeping people together. We're marching in formation. You get a chance to learn about everybody you're walking side by side with. So we really want to kind of replicate the experience of what our service members get by being in the military, is that community, that connection, that support from each other. So over 22 hours, we have 5 stops. Folks are marching about 10 miles at a time. They have about 45 minutes to change shoes, eat something, refill their water bladders. We have an amazing volunteer crew that come in at each stop, take care of people's feet, mental health, physical health, make sure they're hydrated and fed, and then we pack it all up and we go do it again.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Amanda, did you have something for
I
Brienne?
do. I was going to say from my very comfortable couch doing research, I noticed there's ways to support you guys without being a marcher. Can you
There
talk about
are,
that?
because not all of us want to walk 50 miles. So I came to the organization in 2024 as a staff. I was a board member previously, and in 2024, I made the decision to march the qualifier, and I had a lot of regret because 20 miles more than I probably was in shape to be able to do, and my feet looked like hamburger when I was
Oh
done.
my
So
Oh
gosh.
at that
gosh.
point, I made the decision that I did not have enough hours to train to get my feet in shape, and I made the transition to the volunteer squad. So our volunteers are just as dedicated and honored as our participants. So our volunteers are going out for essentially a 30-hour commitment of being alongside those folks, foot care, physical health, hospitality. We have a very large medical team that goes out. So there's a space for everyone to contribute, but even beyond the full 30-hour commitment, we obviously have each of our rest stops. We have volunteers that help there. And at the finish line, we usually have about 2 to 3,000 people welcoming everybody in. It's great. They line the streets. Everybody has flags and signs. I just remember standing in the back of a truck in 2023 watching the finish and just ugly crying because it really is such a moving experience to see that many people come together to support each other. So there is always a space for everyone in this organization, whether that's as a volunteer, as a marcher, as a supporter. It's a fundraising event that benefits our mission and the work that we get to do in the community. So I am not a veteran myself, and I've never felt more welcomed by a community. So whether you have served or not, this is an opportunity to serve in your own way.
That veteran
That's so cool.
community is my favorite community, I think, to raise funds for, to get involved with. I was at I'm empty nesting. I try to get my grocery shopping done like the second a store opens, right? So I'm at Walmart, 6 a.m., second door's open, and the only other people that are there look like they probably served in, maybe as far back as the Korean War. They're bumping around in there doing their thing. So I bump into a gentleman, and I'm a talker. So we get to having a conversation, and he's a veteran. He's an Army veteran, and I tell him my brother's a Marine Corps veteran, and literally the very first thing he asked was, "Well, how is he? How did he do mentally?" Like trying to say it without saying it, and it just showed the camaraderie between them. To volunteer and not know where you're going, to be willing to go and do whatever it is they ask you to do, is a tremendous thing. We talk about a commitment. I'm going to commit to walking 50 miles for you because what you committed to was so tremendous. There's never going to be enough for me to do. I'm curious, Brian, as you're doing this and you're helping with the fundraising and the distributing, what is one of the nonprofits you guys help out around there that's like near and dear to your heart?
Oh gosh. I mean, honestly, there truly are so many. This last year, we supported 9 different organizations. I think I could probably rattle all of them off. So at Ease USA, they provide PTSD treatment. They also work with spouses and family members with support groups because obviously that's something the whole family goes through. Bravo Zulu Adventure Group, they take veterans scuba diving and skydiving. I think I'll have a chance to jump with them later this year, which I love.
Oh, that's cool.
Um, Habitat for Humanity keeps veterans in their homes through veteran home repairs. Heartland Hope Mission does food security, so they have a client choice pantry. Hero Stock is a local resource fair and music festival that brings veterans together through music, but also provides them with access to local
Hero
resources.
Stock, stop it. That is the cutest name. I love that
It
so
is,
much.
and it's a fabulous event. And last year they overlapped with the 50-mile march, and
Oh,
we're very
stop.
excited. They're not this year, so we missed it last year. We will be back this year. New Vision's Homeless Services, they have a veterans housing complex here in Omaha. Together does a housing stability clinic and crisis intervention. So we have a cash fund that they use to support veterans in crisis. Heroes Encore does guitar lessons, as we talked about, and then Hetra does equine therapy. So those were the 9
Wow.
organizations we were able to touch just this year alone.
You can tell talking to you and just listening to you talk about this that you are very dedicated. And I want to know what it was for you. You said you didn't serve. So you were a board member. What was it that about the 50-mile march that grabbed you, Brienne, and just didn't let you go?
So I've worked in the nonprofit sector the vast majority of my career here in Omaha. I took a brief hiatus post COVID to pursue another path. So I was getting paid to drink beer professionally. I was running the
Ooh,
membership association for the craft beer industry, uh, and doing a lot of legislative and lobbying work for alcohol policy, which
where
is
was
a
my
lot of
call?
fun and
Where
the
was my
job
call?
that nobody would ever quit.
Yeah,
And
right.
one of our board members, founding board members, was a brewery owner, and so I knew her and her family. Her husband was a Marine vet, and she said, "Hey, I'm on the board of a nonprofit organization. We could really use somebody who understands the sector. Would you consider joining the board?" She told me what organization it was. I've known Jay, our founder, for the better part of 15 years. I'm not very good at saying no, so I joined the board. Had the opportunity though, I love the startup space. So pre-COVID, I had a consulting company. I was working mostly in the startup nonprofit space. I love the entrepreneurial nonprofit, and then I got to do the same thing in the beer industry with a lot of startup businesses there. So joined the board in 2023, had the opportunity to lead us through some strategic planning, budgeting, and they're like, "Hey, you should just quit your job and come do this." And standing in the back of that truck in 2023 at the finish line, I it was like, "Here's your sign. This
Right?
is the community you're meant to be a part of." So now I just drink beer for fun, uh, and have the opportunity to join. But I've worked in fundraising a long time, and I think if you look at the hierarchy of fundraising, things that people love to give money to, puppies and kitties, pickleball, kids with cancer. Those are all important causes, and they're things that make you feel good and you can't argue with. I think when we get into mental health and homelessness and veterans issues, it's not as attractive because then we have to admit that we've done something wrong because we haven't taken care of the people that are most vulnerable or the people who need us the most. And those are the projects that really speak to me. And so, no, I
Mm,
didn't serve. I love and know a lot of veterans. Both of my grandfathers served, but we never talked about it. They've both been deceased for more than 10 years. And it really wasn't until I took this job that we started having some of those stories. One served in World War II, the other served in Korea and Vietnam, but we didn't talk about it, and I'm sure we didn't talk about it because those are memories that they didn't wanna revisit, and now I have the opportunity to listen to some of those stories and wish that I had, held space to listen back then for my grandfathers, but so I
yeah.
again, feel privileged to serve in this space and do what I can, and we try to tell people our participants are only about a third veteran status. And I think it's easy to apologize to say, "Well, I'm sorry, I'm not a veteran," or "I didn't serve." And I think people think I did because of all the tattoos and maybe my propensity to speak like a sailor, but I I have learned to stop apologizing because now I'm serving in the way that I can. So everybody who comes to this community has something to offer.
Absolutely. I can tell you right now, being maybe less of a person than what you are, I would have been pulling for some free craft beer in my new contract, just because that would have been a real tough job for a guy like me, born and bred in Oregon, where microbrews are just everywhere. It would have been hard for me to stay away, but I bet the waistline looks a little better after no, just not free beer every single day. One of the radio stations I used to work for stocked a fridge of Bud Light every morning. And
Stop.
it's like, can I get out of here without 700 extra calories, please? Like, I just
It's
want to
true,
go
but
home.
y'all, if you see me drinking the Bud Light, it's a cry for help because
Okay, good to know. Me too. Me too. That means I've gone back to a very dark period, right?
right. Y'all drink local. Drink
Yes,
local.
yes. Support local. Well,
Support your microbreweries.
uh, getting back to you working with veterans in the capacity that you can, I think that's a very important thing. There's a lot of people that I think sit out there having not served, having known people that serve, having maybe some really close friends or family that serve, that they don't understand how to help. They don't understand what they can do. They don't understand how much it means if you do just a little bit. And so hearing that story from you, Brianne, I think will be real poignant with the people that are listening that maybe aren't vets, but really want a way to help. And this is kind of a double dip scenario because we have a lot of drivers out there that we're constantly talking about getting healthier and finding ways to stay healthy in the cab, finding ways to eat better, finding ways to stay in better physical shape. And, signing up for this is sort of an internal motivation, right? I've got to train or else my feet are going to look like hamburger. And this is one step in that road to finding a way to help and not feeling like you need to apologize anymore.
It is, and so, I mean, movement is medicine. Walking is accessible to anyone. There's no barrier to entry. It doesn't cost anything. You can do it anywhere. So I think that piece is important, but also to piggyback on that, how we're strengthening mental health and resiliency. That is something that our organization is looking at. And so as we start to stand up programs, offering the opportunity for people to be able to access that peer support or to be okay with not being okay. The more that we talk about mental health challenges, the more we talk about the things that we wrestle with every day, the more we're normalizing that and seeking assistance. And I think sometimes it's really hard to say, I need help, or to make that first step to ask somebody to listen to you or to seek therapy. And so I think, again, building a strong community through Rucking has encouraged a lot of our community to be okay with not being okay and to share their personal story and to feel heard and seen. So
Yeah, it
starts with a
can't.
step.
Right, right. And it can't be easy. These are the people that we look to protect the very freedoms that we hold dear. And I've always seen the juxtaposition of, like, I take some of the former Marines I know, and even into their 60s, 70s, 80s, these are some of the toughest individuals that I've ever been around. You could go out and play catch with bricks with them, and they would probably enjoy it, right? And that does not necessarily pair up with, hey, I need help. I need somebody to listen to me. I need to express my emotions right now. And I guess just trying to play down that stigma of, like, it's okay. We're all going through something. We've gone decades without taking care of some of the most vulnerable in the way that we should. So knowing the mission, knowing that this is what we're trying to do here, it all starts with just having something, right? Having something to go to. I remember back when I was a kid, my dad played poker every Thursday night with his poker buddies, and didn't matter what was going on at work, didn't matter what was going on at the house. Like, that Thursday was his release for a couple hours to go hang out with his buddies and do his thing. And I've always held that as, like, something very near and dear. Like, I need to have something each week to keep me going, to keep me excited about what's coming up in the future. And this 50-mile march can do that for you from the word go. The minute you sign up, you've got a 50-mile ruck at the end of your rope. So you better be getting ready and you better be looking forward to it, right?
And again, you're not doing it by yourself. I mean, can you go out and take a walk by yourself? Absolutely.
Yeah,
But
sure.
go
For
walk
four
with somebody else
miles.
and talk and listen.
Yeah, I'll tell you, but 4 miles is about my cap, talking to myself, Brienne. That's about as much as I can take, to
I
be
mean, I
honest.
think you're pretty interesting. I mean, I can carry on the internal monologue. No, I don't want to be alone with my thoughts for that long.
Yeah, right. I wonder if there is a participant story that you can tell us. Being as dedicated as you are, I know that you hear these stories and you carry them on as a way to sort of promote the mission itself and show what it really can do. Is there a story floating around in your head right now that you could tell us that would really kind of set the tone for what the 50-mile march is?
Storytelling has been really important to our organization, and something that we are continuing to do as we go forward is sharing as many stories as possible. I'll touch on a couple that have resonated with me over time. One of our initial promotion videos we did, veteran that I'm now friends with. We played good pickleball together.
Nice.
He a few years ago was in a really dark place mentally. Tried to take his own life a couple times. The last time he did that, he actually had left a note, had let people know that was going to be the end. Was picked up by multiple sheriffs and police and taken to get the assistance that he needed. And so he's come back and marched with us. I think this is his fourth or fifth year joining us. And again, he found community, he found purpose and meaning, and somebody saw him and knew that he needed assistance and was there for him. And so again, he is great with telling his story because somebody needs to hear that story. Last year, we had a 9-year-old successfully complete the march. That was her second year participating. She joined us at 8 years old because she had seen her dad march, and she said, I want to be there with you. I want to honor my grandfather who served. So you have an 8-year-old that's training to walk 50 miles.
And she had to take
Uh,
twice as many steps with those little legs. Oh my gosh.
she does. And then the individual who connected actually me with you, he is battling early onset dementia. This is
Oh, no.
his fourth year coming back to march with us, and has been really open about his struggles. Actually, did a local TEDx talk about it, but how Rucking has changed his life and the community that he's built through that, and the people that have lifted him up when he's struggled. And he is also a military veteran, and so I mean, you can't walk with somebody and not hear a story. We have suicide survivors. We have people who have lost children, parents, loved ones to suicide. We have people who are struggling with their own mental health journeys now. I don't think there's anybody who comes to us that doesn't have a personal story, and I guarantee you that in your life, every single person you talk to probably has a personal story of struggle or triumph or something that they're going through right now. So we
Absolutely.
talk about holding space. Sometimes all you have to do is listen, and walking is a great way to do that because there's not much else to do.
Right, right. Well, what a great story. And shout out Ron, I believe is the gentleman's name that sent the email that really kicked this thing off. Without him reaching out to Liquid Trucking, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. So
And Ron's story is incredibly powerful. And yeah, he did a local TEDx talk about what it feels like to lose yourself through early onset dementia, and how that's really shaped his life, and what he hopes to do, and the impact he wants to leave. So
I think one of the things, Amanda, that's standing out to me about this is and Brienne, don't take this personally. It's just the things that I noticed, but I noticed your tone of voice change right there when you were telling those stories, and that to me really does. It's just a huge signal that you're dedicated to this. Does it choke you up a little bit to kind of remember some of these stories, Brienne?
I am. I like to say that I've cried more in the last 2 years than I probably have in my entire adult life. I'm pretty good at compartmentalizing, but it, to be the keeper of those stories and to have people be vulnerable enough to tell you about the things that they're struggling with is a really powerful thing. And again, how are we equipping everybody in our community to be able to do that? Whether that's taking a talk saves lives class or a mental health first aid in the same way we would take physical first aid, but to really know how to show up for each other, because it is a powerful thing to have somebody be that vulnerable with you. And I
Absolutely.
feel privileged that I get to hear everybody's stories. That's probably the single best part of this job.
And you, that makes you probably the single best person to be in that job, if you want my opinion, because you got to have somebody like that that can resonate with these stories and understand the impact that they can have in the greater community. And you've got that in spades, Brienne. There's no question in my mind. I do have sort of a little bit more of a fun question that I want to ask here as we start to move towards the end of the interview, but I've been chatting a lot here, so I want to make sure that I don't have Amanda leave anything on the table just because I've been pontificating. So before we get to sort of a fun one, Amanda, do you have anything else for Brienne before I lighten the mood a bit?
Let's do the fun one first, because my questions are about, say you have a business and maybe rather than writing a fat advertising check, you might want to sponsor a really cool event like this.
There you
I
go.
would love to talk about ways to get involved at
So
the
yeah,
end
we
for
can come
sure.
Okay,
back around
that's
and
great.
talk
Yep.
about, like, give us your money so we can help these people. So we'll come back to that, but let's
Okay.
do
I
the
am a
fun.
fundraiser, but
Yep.
Yes.
I like it. I like it. Okay. So, this is kind of one that I just got to know because one of the ways that I try to keep myself healthy is I just go on like a 4 mile power walk. Like I can get it done in under an hour. I have a pretty fast pace and I just go and I do it. That's 4 miles. That's like not even scratching the surface, less than 10% of what the 50-mile march is. So I got to know, whereabouts within the 50 miles do the people really start lying to themselves, Brienne? Like what are some of the things that you've heard along this route of people saying like, I thought this was a good idea, or hey, you said 50 miles, I'm at mile 5 and I'm questioning my own existence. What are some of those stories that you can put us
so
straight with?
2024 is like the year of the story. So that was my first year being part of the full mission. We march in August. So this coming year's March is August 22nd, 23rd. So August in Nebraska is usually pretty toasty. We've seen some weather, but August 2024, we had a low temperature of 78 and a high temperature of 103 with a
Wow.
115-degree heat index.
Oh my God.
So day one was a little. We start about noon. Day one was okay. We got to the middle of the night stop about 3 o'clock in the morning. We were at Camp Ashland, which is local base here, and it's a chain effect. One person is like, "Well, my knee hurts. I think I'm gonna take a knee. I'm out." And then the person next to them's like, "Oh, you're out? Yeah, my back I think I'm out." And so we had a mass dropout at 3 o'clock in the morning. About I think 14 people tapped at that stop, which was about the halfway point. And this is one of the single biggest failures I think of my time in this role. We left Camp Ashland to walk to the next checkpoint, which was the longest leg, about 12 miles. And again, the middle of the night is when people get in their feels. You're done talking with your neighbor, your back is hurting. There's a fair amount of uphill in that stretch. It's foggy and it's still hot. There was no break from the heat. And I had a marcher who did not know anybody, who had had a training partner who decided not to do the march at the last minute, showed up, started to walk out of Camp Ashland, decided he was done, called an Uber and left. Didn't tell anyone, didn't check in with his platoon leadership, didn't
Oh no.
didn't literally just and nobody noticed. And so 3.5 hours later, we're getting ready to leave the next checkpoint. We can't find someone.
Oh
And at
no.
the time, you're like, how do you lose someone? But it's pitch black. You're on a highway in the middle of the night. We're making frantic phone calls to emergency contacts and trying to locate him. And when we finally did reach him, he was very transparent. Like, I got in my feels. I was really struggling. I didn't know anyone. I didn't know who to talk to, and so I left. And to me, like, that being a metaphor for how we're overlooking the person next to us who's suffering, right? And so I think it taught us a lot. We can laugh about it now. He's great. But in that moment, like, oh wow, we've really failed someone because we weren't there to support them. And that really informed for us going forward how we do a better job of making sure everybody feels included, especially the folks who aren't local to us and maybe aren't training with that core group. But every story, every step that year was misery. I had people liken the second day of marching to what it felt like being cooked in an oven. We
Oh
had people
gosh.
literally whose legs were blistering, like heat blistering because they were being baked by the asphalt. It was a really, really rough year. It was not a lot of fun. I mean, we had moments where we were trying to make the decision as leadership, do we keep going?
Right.
Because
Is this in
obviously
everybody's
the
best
the
interest?
safety of our participants is paramount. And so, yeah, let me tell you that 3 a.m. to 6 a.m., like before the sun comes up, is a really dark space, literally and mentally for everyone. Um,
Yeah. Do yourself a favor, wake up tomorrow morning at 3 a.m. and tell me you're not already in your feels, like right when you get
right,
out of bed. Like, it's just not going to
man.
happen.
And you're sleep deprived, you haven't slept in a day. And so this year at that stop, we took a little bit different route this year, but that 6 a.m. as the sun was coming up spot, we had 4 hot air balloons
Oh, that's
float
cool.
over our stop, and we have some beautiful photos. And I thought, if this isn't like a, sign, like this year we got it right. We're in a good place. It was about 15 degrees cooler across the whole March this last year. So fingers crossed that August 2026 is kind to us because
Yeah.
it makes a difference.
Do you think that just the conditions, the weather conditions, cost some participants from year to year? Were there people that did not come back that said, "Look, I'm not going to put myself through that again"?
Every year, it's funny to see how we have people who marched who are like, "Nah, I'm good. I did it once. Like, I'll come back and volunteer next year." or we have volunteers who come out for the first time, experience it, and they're like, next year I'm going to walk because that's where it's at. So we actually do have a lot of crossover of people who have done both. I swear someday I will walk 50 just to say I did it, but
We're
it's
gonna
not this
hold you to
year.
that. We're gonna hold you to that because
It's not this year.
this has gone so well. This last 30 minutes has been so awesome that we're gonna make this a yearly thing if you'll let us.
I would love
Because
to.
all we want to do here is help tell more drivers, more veterans about this, and the driver community and the veteran community are so intertwined. It's almost like sometimes they're one. I mean, the
I
way
would
that
be remiss to not shout out our team at Werner Enterprises. So Werner Enterprises was one of our very early supporters. We have an amazing relationship. Each year they turn out with a team, not just local, but folks coming in nationally. Anywhere from 8 to 20 participants each year from the Werner team. So we love the trucking industry. We love that they're putting veterans to work and that seems to be a priority for them, and they are incredibly invested. So shout out to our Werner friends who have been with us since the beginning.
Yeah, and you know what? I will take it a step further and say shout out to all of our veteran truck drivers, because look,
Amen.
it's to jump out of that career and into this one. You are built different, my friend. If you're listening to this and you went through military service and now you're a full-time truck driver, you are built different, and we are a better place because of people like you. So,
All right,
um,
well, there's my shameless request. I actually, growing up, have always wanted to be a truck driver. I love driving. I love being out on the open roads. If anybody wants to scoot me up, I would love to hear your story. I'll come take a ride with you sometime.
Girl,
we could
let's
get you a ride
go.
along.
Yeah.
Liquid's just right out there in Plattsmouth. I'm sure that there'll be a driver that'll listen to this and get in touch with
Yes.
me and say, "Get her
Scoot
in my
scoot me
truck."
up. I would love
Yeah,
a couple days to hear people's stories. So
that's so cool. That's so cool. Well, Amanda, I'm going to kick it over to you now because I got my fun out of the way. That's me being 12 years old in the 6 inches between my ears, Brienne. I'm sorry. Happens
tell me
every
about
now
the
and then.
blisters and the nasty feet. Our only feet channel. That's the next fundraising
only
idea.
feet.
Sell
Oh,
feet
God.
photos.
And maybe shout out to the volunteers too, because it's not only you're volunteering, you're in there for 30 hours, you got these hard hours, you're working with feet. I mean, you've got to be just the type of person that deserves a pedestal because I don't know.
Truckers are a specific brand. People who touch people's feet are also a specific brand.
There you
I
go.
am also not that person.
You're right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll stay miles away. You can find me serving food and drinks. All right, that's where I'm best. To say, come get some food for me. Come get some drinks and some conversation. Keep your shoes on. Sorry, Amanda. Though I'll kick it over to
But
you.
there's definitely a reason I tip the person who does my pedicure more than the person who
Amen.
brings me food. I mean, it's just
Amen.
a thing. But I gotta say, I thought for stories it was going to be something like, man, I wish I wouldn't have had Taco Bell last night before doing this.
We
This
have that
March.
story too about the year that somebody decided it was a good idea to grab Casey's breakfast pizzas and a bunch of people ate them, and you can guess what the
No.
result of that
Oh
was.
gosh,
my
the
So
result was we brought on Imodium as a sponsor the following year, right?
Listen, and that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about sponsorship because that is such a great way to not just get your business name out there, but to also attach it to something so amazing. I mean, if you're talking about trying to build the reputation of your company in the community, what better way to do it than to get on board with this? So you guys actually have several sponsorship opportunities at different levels. How do people go about getting involved, getting their business and attaching to you guys?
we do. And one of the beautiful things about being a more grassroots and smaller nonprofit, yes, we have the shiny sponsorship document that talks through the levels and what you receive for that. But we truly pride ourselves on creating custom opportunities for our sponsors because we want to make sure that we're enhancing their brands and we're helping support their businesses because they're supporting us and they're supporting veterans. So it isn't just a plug and play model. We really want to make sure that our sponsors are engaged and feel part of our community. Sponsorship opportunities are available on our website, 50milemarch.org. You can click get involved and complete a sponsor form to learn more. We do a number of local networking events here to get people out to learn about our mission and to see where they might plug in. We have amazing in-kind sponsors that provide goods and services that we need. But as we move into the future, again, we started as a grant making organization. This past December, we also purchased 7 acres of property in Bellevue, Nebraska, with the intent of developing that into a community center and housing complex for veterans. And so, as we move into that, it's obviously a huge undertaking. It's about a $30 million facility that's going to co-locate veterans agencies, services all in one space to collaborate. There will be lots of opportunities in that space to get involved as program partners or capital sponsors. So I just love to tell our story. I love to tell the story of our community, and I love to hear stories. So to me, getting involved in the organization as a sponsor, supporter, donor, marcher all starts with one of us listening to your story. So
The last radio station that I worked for, we all year long raised funds, specifically for a halfway house for veterans here in our community. But they were more than that.
love
They're like
that.
an umbrella organization, kind of like what you're talking about, where you can almost organize all of these different things that are out there, all these different services, and kind of, have the information in one place so that the veterans can go to one place and get all of that help that they need. Um, and in doing that fundraising every year, we have certain people that we would see, like we would go out and do a live broadcast on Veterans Day, and the same people would show up every year, and they'd show up with a big old donation every year because they knew they wanted to donate money every year and they wanted to choose the right cause, and that was the one. So sometimes it's people who like you either did or did not serve. It's just we all have been touched by a veteran at some point in our life, whether you've met them or not. Guess what? You've been touched by a veteran, okay? So I bring that up because if you can't march, maybe you're listening to this and you live somewhere else in the country and it's just tugging at your heartstrings. I really want to help. People can actually just make a monetary donation to you guys, right?
That's a true story. Again, they can support the campaign this year. They can support a marcher that they know who's participating. They can support a program or a general contribution. Or honestly, again, I will challenge you to support veteran communities in your own backyard as well, because they're doing great work. Again, we're lucky to be a collaboration agency and support a number of other missions that are on the front lines here. And so look in your own backyard, because there's also some great organizations across the country that are doing awesome work.
That's great advice there. I tell you, I have made the drive from Omaha to Lincoln and back in the same day. Felt like a lot more than a 50-mile march to me. So for those of you that have signed up already and are in training right now, hats off to you. It's not too late, or is it too late? If we want to march, Brienne, is it too late for me to
It's too
sign up?
late to March in 2026, but that doesn't mean you can't come get involved. We have a number of training groups that meet across Omaha, Lincoln area. So come ruck, tell your story, hear other people's stories, get connected to the community, because I think that's the most important part. We will find a space for you. But if not, start training for next year.
There you go. It's never too early to get started.
Starts with the first step.
Absolutely. Brienne Schuler, director of the 50-mile march. This has been fantastic having you on. Thank you so much for coming on to share your mission. You can find more information at 50milemarch.org. Did I get that correct?
True story.
All right, go there.
Find us on the social channels. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Connect with us. We love to engage.
There you go. Sign up, get walking, get moving, go out there and help, donate, volunteer, however you can. We want to do our part here at the Liquid Trucking Podcast to bring as much support to the 50-mile march as we can, and we're going to definitely extend this relationship into the future. Brienne, it's been an absolute pleasure today. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us.
Thank you.
Welcome back into the Liquid Trucking Podcast. I am so excited about this next interview. These two people that I have joining me here are really going to bring the whole episode full circle. We already talked to Brienne. We know all about the mission of the 50-mile march. We know what it is. We know why it's a thing. Now, I want to bring in some people that actually have experience out there rucking 50 miles. And joining me right now, I have Steve and Gina Jones with me, two people who have participated and finished the 50-mile march before. Steve and Gina, it's an absolute pleasure to have you both. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Now, you guys are joining me from a pretty crazy spot in the trucking world right now. This obviously will not air for a couple of weeks, but go ahead and tell all the listeners where you're joining us from right now, because I found that pretty exciting.
So we are currently at the parking lot for the truckers at Mid-America Truck Show in Louisville, Kentucky.
Yep, one of the biggest truck shows going on, and what are you guys doing out there? Are you supporting the 50-mile march? Are you just spectators and going out to check it out? What's the purpose of your visit?
So we're out here. Gina's a finalist for the Women in Truckers Trucking Female Driver of the Year Award, and also Project 61 slash Off Shift, which is helping with us with the 50-mile march. And actually, our coach is going to be one of the volunteers to help take care of us during the march this year. They're out here, so we're going to help support them, and we're going to also help support the St. Christopher Silent Auction.
And we are also going to help support the TA Driver Citizen Award winner for 2026. Steve and I were TA Petro Citizen Driver Winner Awards in 2024.
That is amazing. You guys are just Gina, congratulations on being nominated for such an awesome award. Congratulations on the awesome award you guys have already taken home. I got a round of applause for that, and I'm ringing it right now. That is so cool. You guys are very involved in the trucking community. It's very evident. I want to start back at the very beginning. Let's go back to your service with the of this great country. Tell me a little bit about that. How long, what branch, that type of thing, and then we'll kind of get into your involvement with trucking in the 50-mile march after we cover that.
So I was in the Army from 98 to 2005. I was a helicopter mechanic, and I ended up doing 2 deployments to Iraq.
Wow. Well, thank you, Steve. Helicopter mechanic. That's. Did you enjoy that gig? I mean, look, and we talked to a lot of guys that are turning wrenches in their off time on this podcast. That's got to be a pretty cool gig. Did you enjoy your time in there turning wrenches on helicopters, Steve?
Yeah, it's actually very satisfying, especially because when I did deploy, I went with the 571st Medevac. So we're actually going out saving lives. So that was keeping those aircraft up to save lives was really important to me.
That's amazing. Well, thank you for your service to this great nation. How about you, Gina?
Well, I am a military mom of 2. My oldest son he's a Navy veteran, and my youngest son, who allowed me to get into the trucking industry after Steve asked me, he went into the military in 2011, and I was able to join Steve in the trucking industry, get my CDL in 2012. But my youngest son is still active, 15 years, and he is on deployment right now.
Wow, that's so amazing. Well, pass on all of our thanks for that service, and also to you, Gina, as well, because a military mom serves a very important part of the entire pie there. If you really decide to parse it out, so awesome stuff there. How long have you guys been married?
It'll be 15 years in September, and we've been together 18 years.
That's amazing. Congratulations. I feel like it deserves another round of applause. And since it's a button that I have sitting right here, I'm just going to keep hitting it. But I love this. So we got into trucking. It sounds like, Gina, around 2012. Steve, when did you start driving?
So when I left the military and after I left, I went into contract with the military. And when I was done with that, I went down to Phoenix, which is where home is. And I wanted to become a motorcycle mechanic. So the original plan was I left out of Colorado, went down to Phoenix for the school, and my plan was to, when the school was done, go back up to and get a job as a Harley Davidson mechanic in Colorado. Well, I met this lovely lady next to me, and as with any good woman, she makes you adapt or change your plans. So I ended up staying in Phoenix, and because the school was there. The job market was really flooded with new technicians, with people that weren't able to go home. So the pay wasn't what I was looking for in Phoenix. So I started looking around for more jobs, and I ended up seeing all these trucks going down the highway, and was like, "Oh, they're all getting paid. I like to drive, so I'll go do that." And I never looked back.
And obviously made a career out of it, something that you enjoy. Were you doing over the road, and what type of freight were you hauling?
It was just general freight, and I was over the road. And then, like Gina said, when her youngest left for the military, I kind of kept twisting her arm to come join me on the truck. And I think that's what really helped make it a career. Was she stuck with me, and she came on the truck and stuck with me. And so that round of applause for 15 years is more generally safe for her, because I know me and I get tired of myself. So she really has to really get put up with a lot with me. So
I understand. Now, Gina, I got to ask you. He said he twisted your arm there for a while. What type of sort of maybe pause did it give you getting your CDL and jumping into the truck? Was that something that was anything like anything you'd ever done before?
No, not at all. I did work 28 years in retail management. So I started at the age of 50, got my CDL. And it's been 14 years this April that I will be team driving with Steve. It's been like, I knew it was going to be a challenge because being on my feet at my previous job, 8, 9 hours a day, and then sitting in a truck for 10 to 14 hours a day and 4 to 6 weeks at a time, um, really kind of set me back if I really wanted to do it. And I'm really social. Like, I have a social life and friends and stuff, and we ride motorcycles, each ride motorcycles. That's how we met each other. And I'm like, that's going to take me away from my life as well. So, but I'm like, you know what? In order to be with him, that's what he wanted. I'm up for challenges. That's part of my life. So I didn't only want to be a steering wheel holder. I made goals, before I even stepped in the truck, that I wanted to be a 1 million accident free miler. And I wanted to be a mentor towards women to bring more women into the trucking industry as well.
That's awesome.
And I've done that.
Yeah, I can tell. Well, I mean, with as decorated as you both already are, I would say so far so good, right? Really hitting all those nails on the head, and a little bit of extra time with the hubby never hurt anybody's feelings, right? It's funny, Steve. You said any good woman will cause you to sort of change and adapt, but it sort of sounds like any good man also might cause Gina to change and adapt a little bit there.
well, I'll try to take some credit for that, but
He's he he supports me so well. He's a rock. He was my trainer as well, when I stepped in the truck. So, when you're a husband and wife and you have someone that's telling you what to do and how to do it, and you maybe want to do it a certain way, or he
Yep.
wants you to be more aggressive in doing something. And I'm like, that's not me. I want to start out slow. I want to learn the skill and do it at my own normal comfort zone.
Uh-huh.
So, those are things that you work out. And we call that we respect each other's space. And when we need the time to have that space, we do get it. So I usually, when I drive, I like the curtain closed when he goes back there, and he liked to keep it open. And I'm like, this is my office up here. I want a little privacy. So he had to learn that a little bit the hard way. And, can you please close the curtain?
Sure.
Cause
I
I
totally understand that. I mean,
yeah.
listen, I'm married. I've been married for about 11 years, and we all have that. That's such an interesting dynamic of the trainer trainee husband and wife thing. Like, there's so many different uh, things that could go awry in that. I would say in my house, my wife is the trainer. I am the trainee. We've set those boundaries, and that's just where it is. But sometimes you make some decisions to help prolong your years as you run down the time clock there. But this has all been so cool. I want to go on to talking a little bit about the decision behind jumping into the 50-mile march, because Steve and Gina, as much as I like to keep myself healthy, as much as I like to pretend that I eat clean all the time, you would have to put a really big number on a check with my name on it to get me to ruck 50 miles with something on my back. When did this idea sound or go from, hey, that sounds pretty cool, to like, no, we're doing this? And what was that sort of transition like? What kind of discussions did you have among one another? Because this is no small undertaking.
so when we won the 24 TA Petro Driver Citizen Award, one of the awards was there was $2,500 that we could give to a charity. And my only recommendation was that it went to veterans. And then we knew through people that we work with in the office that Werner had a team that did the 50-mile march. So in 24, we donated that money to the 50-mile march to help support the Warner drivers that were in the march. And then, so we were supporters of it then. And then that was Gina's recommendation to put it towards the 50-mile march. And then she came up with the idea, well, next year, let's do it. And I'm like, okay.
You
Didn't
said
really give
okay
them.
right off the bat, huh?
Well, I'm going to support. And then it may also, what it did for me was it gave me a goal to start getting my health better, lose weight, get more healthy, because you're not going to go into this out of shape. And I'm not,
Right.
and I still believe round is a shape, and I'm still round, but I'm not as round as I was when I started training for this. So it went from supporting it financially to, well, let's see if we can support this financially, because we each all have, as a walker, you have a requirement to raise a certain amount of money. So it went from financially supporting it to helping raise money, because it is such a wonderful cause.
It really is. And it's funny, you already answered my next question, which is going to be who talked who into it. Gina, it doesn't sound like you had that much trouble. You put the hammer down and that's what happened, yeah?
Well, if he wants to do it with me, he's gonna have to join me because I would do it no matter what. And it was we trained for a year. We got out there. They told us if you get 15 miles in a week, you'll be good. So we did. We every week when we were home, we got 15 miles in, and
Wow.
we were eating healthier. We plan our meals going out on the truck. We take them with us. If we don't have meals, we know in truck stops that there's a better choices to choose from Project 61 off shift. They help you guide you in the healthier food selection, looking at all the calorie counts and the ingredients and everything. So, that helps us out on the road as well. And having a platform that we follow to do exercises in the truck and out of the truck and stuff like that too. So, yeah, we did really good our first year being out there and getting ourselves out, because you know what? You get nervous. If you're not going to do anything, you're not going to be ready. And we knew
Oh,
we needed to be ready for this.
yeah, I can imagine. I mean, 50 miles is no that's nothing to scoff at. You know, when I go out on a walk that I'm hoping to sort of get a health benefit out of, my goal is to walk 4 miles in 1 hour. That means I've got my heart rate up, but at that point I'm kind of almost jogging, to be honest with you. And you think about extrapolating that 10 times plus, 12 times if you really want to get mathematical with it. It's mind blowing to me. And real quick, you touched on something. I want to give shout out Dr. Mark Manera, Project 61. He's been on this podcast many times before. We'll get him on again. Make sure to check out Project 61, because we're sitting here talking to two people who tell you they used it and it worked. Can you talk a little bit about was it mostly the nutrition that it helped you with? Was it any type of exercise routine? What did Project 61 do for you in your training here, Gina and Steve?
So our coach, having a coach and talking to our coach once a week, we still are with Project 61. We will pretty much be with Project 61 off shift. And we have a coach once a week that we talk to every Thursday, which we're accountable for. So we need to make sure that we keep that in order and everything every week that we need to do, because once you stop, it just gets you in that lazy period. And we just need to keep moving.
And also, our coach can set up customized workout routines that will fit our schedule, and we're able to get in on the road. So every little bit helps, and then you got just a list of things to check off to do daily, and like it's mainly just you got someone that's holding you accountable and
Yeah.
is behind you and encouraging you to reach your goals. So it really helps having someone to there in your on your not on your back at your back that has
At
your
your
back.
back. There
So
you go.
it's
Like the wind at your back, maybe.
right. So it's really really good to have someone
That makes you
and
accountable.
rooting for you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
absolutely,
we
100%.
root for each other. But I think it gets a little bit more meaningful when it's someone else other than just the two of us always supporting it. Someone else supporting us both.
Because we can also talk to our coach privately, if because usually it's both of us on the call at the same time. But sometimes we might need that one-on-one with our coach without our spouse being next to us if we're having a little more difficulty with something, or we
Sure.
need to talk something out a little more private. But she has our coach has a lot of knowledge that helps us along the way and in our difficult times, because you know what, sometimes we can crash, you know, we're not perfect, so they can get us back on track and say, you know, they don't get hard on us, but they'll say, you know what, you got tomorrow, you know, just think about tomorrow, and you know, you'll just keep going.
And our coach has a really good saying that I like, as if you're having a bad week. She goes like, "Well, if you have a flat tire on your car or truck, you just go ahead and just slash the rest of them and instead of just call it quits, or do you just fix that tire and you keep rolling?" Same thing as it with anything that you're doing health related. If you have a bad week or a bad day, you don't just throw in the towel and call it quits. You get yourself fixed and you keep going along with what your goals are.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if anybody is thinking about checking out Project 61, I don't know if we could have given it a better testimonial if we would have paid for it and gotten like Brad Pitt in here to read it. That's real life experience from people that have used Project 61. So they're friends of ours. Like I said, Dr. Mark Manera, anything that guy does, I'll always be a fan of. We'll get him back on the show here soon to talk a little bit more about Project 61, but just a quick little side note there. I know we're talking about the 50-mile march here, and I want to keep it focused, but I think Project 61 is doing some great things for the transportation industry, and the whole thing is just getting our truck drivers to live longer and be healthier. How can you ever scoff at that, right? As a mission statement. So thank you guys for bringing that to the table there, because I just, again, I'm so excited about what they're doing over there, and to hear real life examples of it coming to fruition and working is it's great podcast content. You guys are knocking it out of the park already. I do have to ask you, here's one kind of funny one. Since we're talking about your training, I get to this point whenever I have a training goal in mind where my body starts sending my head strongly worded emails. Hey, it's time for you to sit on a couch. It's time for you to eat 6 hot dogs. It's time to order a large pizza. I know we all go through it. Was there a specific point in the training where you really felt like you were reaching a fever pitch and you didn't know if you were going to be able to keep moving forward with it?
With the training, not so much because so you said you were doing a 4 mile an hour pace. So on the march, we try, they keep us paced at 3.2. So it's
Okay.
a little bit more of a manageable, well, it's a very manageable pace for 50 miles. So, when we were training, we kept our training right around 3.4, 3.5 ish mile an hour. And, so the only, physically, for me, it wasn't so much of a struggle doing it. It was just the time commitment, because that 3.5 out is now you're looking at an hour and 25 minutes 3 times a week in the morning. And then we also have work to do. We're truck drivers. So,
Right.
the time commitment was more than the physical commitment for me.
Okay. How about for you, Gina?
Yeah, knowing that you needed to get that walk in before you left for work that morning. So here we're up at 5 o'clock in the morning. We live in Phoenix, Arizona. We have to figure out the time with the heat
Yeah.
and be up early before the sun comes up. But I love walking in the middle in the early morning hours and then watching the sunrise. And you know, we both have our headsets on. But this year um, my daughter joined with us and my girlfriend from Wisconsin. So we have been training with them as well. Um, but it's just making sure that you keep on track and you know you have to get those miles in, because if you don't, you're only hurting yourself.
For
So, you
sure.
know, we're telling them that you need to get your miles in for this year. So it's kind of like what we learned that we could do better, could have done better. We're making sure that they are doing it as well.
Pay it forward. I like that. I like that. Make it so that next year they're going to want to go off and do their second one, and maybe they'll bring some people along that they can help train up a little bit. I love it. So now that we've covered the training, the march itself is where I kind of want to really bring us to now, and I think the best place that I could take us is right up to the starting line with you guys. We're there, we're trained, we're ready, but the starting line of any race or any challenge is always the part where all of a sudden the rubber meets the road. What's going through your mind, both of you, once you get up there to the starting line and you're about to take those first steps of the 50-mile march?
Well, for me, because that was our first time doing it, it kind of digs in like, what did I just sign up for? Because as everybody around you, the enthusiasm is through the roof with the group. I think we had 167 marchers last year, and the enthusiasm. And then at the start, Jay, who is the founder, he has everybody lay down for 22 minutes to recognize the 22 veterans that at the peak we lost today, and for what we're marching for. So it gives you 22 minutes of silence and reflection, and then you're still in your mind. For me, I didn't know how to get myself ready for the next 22 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just they got us going, and it's just
You do it.
you just do it.
You
People
just do
are
it.
talking, and you're just keeping each other motivated.
There is so much support out there that you want to get to learn. Everybody in your color team, we're Team Blue, and there's so much support in our team. There's like 50 walkers, I think, in the color category.
Platoons.
Platoons that we have, yes, and but there's walkers that have walked 2, 3 years, 4 years. And they want you to get to talking all the time, talking to these walkers, learn their stories when they first started. And that's like great support, right? Because when you talk, when you walk, it goes so fast. And that's what I was really surprised at. When we did the first 10 miles, I'm like, wow, we're already at 8 miles. And I felt good because as long as I could keep my mindset, keep that pace, not go off in another world, I was good. I was nervous. I'm not going to lie. I was nervous because you know what? When I trained in Phoenix and we would go in the evening, later part of the evening, the middle of the afternoon, because we needed to get used to the temperature. Because when you're in Omaha, you have the humidity. We have the dry heat in Phoenix. And they're two different things. But I would sometimes have a hard time in Phoenix doing my 10 miles that I was not able to make it because I had heat exhaustion. And if you don't hydrate, it's not a good thing. So
yeah, it can be really bad.
I had to make sure I was hydrated the day before, that I was ready to get out there. That was probably the hardest part for me. And I think even Steve didn't think I was going to make it. And I truly didn't think I would make it either. But oh my gosh, I was just surprised. I kept going, and it was such a great experience.
That's such a cool story to hear, and that's kind of you sort of already answered this next one, but I have to ask it because I'm thinking 50 miles, 50 of anything is a lot. If you asked me to sit down and count out 50 strips of bacon, which is my favorite thing in the world, I would still probably sigh like, it's going to take a minute. So 50 is a lot. Was there a mile in there where you were thinking, man, I don't know? Like, was there a mile marker where it became a serious challenge that you were not sure about being able to finish? Or was it something that motivation, that sense of community, and just the extra, I guess, energy that you get from the people that you're walking around kind of pushes you right through that? I've never done anything like this before, so you got to tell me, was there a point where it was like, oh, I can't do it, or were you just pretty much energized by the march itself to get through and finish?
I'm going to say my first 8 miles, where we had, I think we did 8 miles, something around 8 miles. Then we got our hour break. I was on my feet most of that time during my hour break, and I learned a lot. And I had to tell myself my next 10 miles, because I think the next walk was 10 miles. I said to Steve, I said, I am sitting in my chair. We have like over 100 volunteers. They will do everything for you. You can't do it on your own. So I said to myself and Steve, I said, I'm letting the volunteers help me fill my camel bag, get me my pickle juice, because I was a firm believer. I was told from some of our people on our team, pickle juice, you need to get pickle juice. That helps relieve cramping. I was eating a banana during each walk, and before we started back out. So that helped me learn, and I was like ready to go the whole rest of the way.
How about for you, Steve?
Well, here comes my confession. I made it to around mile 34 and my back locked up.
Oh no.
So I actually had to exit the challenge, the march at mile 34. And then I think that was hard for Gina because we were walking together and I wasn't able to continue. So this is my motivation this year, is to get past that and actually finish it. So what I did was I went and became one of the volunteers he talks about, and I stayed with them and I helped take care of the people that were continuing to march for the rest of the march. So
With the seized up back.
Yes.
That's
So,
amazing.
well, because they have an ambulance that follows for medical attention, and they went and checked all my vitals, and everything checked out fine. My
Yeah.
blood pressure was fine. I wasn't needing anything. I didn't cramp, just my back locked up because it's an in-service injury, and
okay.
so I just I went and I met them at the next stop, and I became basically focused on taking care of Blue Platoon, specifically on one walker, and just gave her everything they needed, and made sure that they got even more support than that we're already getting.
And before we started our journey with the 50-mile march, Steve and I talked to each other and we said, whoever has to back out, the other one still keeps continuing. So I I felt so bad that he could not continue on, but I was determined that I was going to do it. I stayed with the platoon and the group, that all our group, and they supported me along from the beginning, that they knew that Steve was had to walk out, and that I would be okay with them, and I was just kept strong. I just kept fighting. Our veterans do so much for us that we just have to do it for them, and I was determined I was going to do it. And I was walking for my son's best friend from high school. My son and his best friend, Christopher, they each went their own direction into the military. My son went into the Navy. Christopher went into the Marines. And Christopher never came home one day, 2004. And I told my son I was going to walk for Christopher for my son.
I bet that was really powerful.
A little emotional. And
Yes.
I truly believe that Christopher helped me along on my journey walking the 50-mile march across the finish line.
That's amazing, Gina. That is such a fantastic story, and I'm here to tell you, absolutely, if that's what you felt, that's what was going on, and I just can't imagine what that must mean to your son, what that must mean to the rest of the community, because as we talked to Brianne a little bit about what this march was about, a big part of it was the community that veterans lack when they leave the service, and they're looking for something. And as you said, we lose a lot of veterans for reasons that we don't even really want to mention here on this show after they leave the service. And the 50-mile march is something that's meant to not only bring awareness to that, but hope to change it and hope to foster this community. And I feel like you became such a big part of the community just deciding that you wanted to be a part of this, but then also marching for who you marched for, going through what you guys went through. Can you talk to me a little bit about the community and just the people that you meet and the things, the way that you grew as people throughout your experience here for the first one, and how you're growing now that you're staring the second one in the face?
Well, Fred, I was going to say Project 61, but 50-mile march does have a GroupMe picture. So beginners, the first time walkers, can join, and we can learn from the walkers that have already walked 1, 2, 3, 4, years. And they help us with our equipment, what we need, the proper shoes, the socks, everything. So we also talk back and we tell about our injuries of what we've had after the 50-mile march, which I lost 4 toenails, 2 toenails on each foot.
Oh my
And
gosh.
but you know what? It didn't bother me during the walk. And I wear these toe condoms that I call them, and then I had my feet wrapped and never had to touch my feet once. I wrapped them before I got there, but the volunteers will check everything to make sure you're good. But yes, the community is wonderful. All the people, we have mandatory meetings that we make sure that we're on, that we don't miss anything that comes up or that we need to know. Um, but like I said, we did bring on 2 other walkers this year to walk with us, and we're excited for them. And so we have to do a 20-mile qualifying, and it has to be done by April 11th, which Steve and I, my daughter, and my girlfriend from Wisconsin is flying into Arizona the week before Easter, and we are doing our qualifying April 5th, Easter morning at 3 a.m.
Wow. Wow, that's awesome. So you guys are building the community, and you're out there and you're holding them to account, right? It's almost like you're their Project 61 because you're right there behind them, keeping them on their training and everything. You know, there's something that, and I don't mean to play on the emotion too much here, but there's something that Brienne said in her interview that really struck a chord with me, and she talked about people just ugly crying at the finish line, and she was being as lighthearted as possible. She wasn't trying to make light of anybody, but I want to take you to the finish line, Gina, and especially Steve, I want you to talk to me about this too, because that's a whole different dynamic now. Once you're locked up, now you are the support system, and as you said, you've got your eye on everybody, but you've got your eye on one runner in particular. So talk to me about that finish line. And Steve, maybe, tell me about what it was like seeing Gina approach the finish line, because I got to figure you were right there waiting.
I couldn't have been more proud of her, especially being the that I know of the first truck driver to finish this 50-mile march, which is grueling. I'm not gonna. It's. I don't know how anybody can say they breezed through it because it's. But see, because the way they had the end finish, they had to go up a hill, a decent sized hill, and then this is their finish line, and then they get to crest the top. So I'm standing there looking at the crest of the hill, and then all of a sudden we just see them all start coming, and there's a huge support of not just volunteers, but there's a crowd there, and they get escorted in with some motorcycle riders, some but believe there's some law enforcement escorting them in, and it's a big deal, and it's just the amount of cheering that was going on from everybody, and I'm hoping this year, and I will this year, see that from the other side as I'm walking in. So just to see her
Yes,
come
sir.
in, I was so proud that she made it. I couldn't have been. The only way I could have been, it would have been better is if I was walking alongside of her. But I'm so proud of what she accomplished.
So
And
it
you'll get
was
to feel
quite.
that this year, right?
That's a
That's the
fact.
plan. That's the plan. Sorry, Gina, go ahead.
No, it was so emotional. You know, you're getting closer and closer, and you see that hill, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I got to make it up that hill." But you know what? Everybody's having to make it up that hill, and everybody's doing it together, talking everybody through it. Come on, we're almost there. And once you start seeing all the people, all the your fans, and we had executives there from our company, and I think that was even more emotional about it, knowing we were the first truck drivers in our company to ever do this. And it was just a proud moment. Emotions went through my body. Yeah, I looking for Steve because there's so many people. I couldn't find him. And I think once I reached him, got in his arms, I just started bawling.
Yep, yep. And that's okay. If there's any place in the world to ugly cry, it's right here at the finish line of the 50-mile march, right? And you said something there, Gina, that I think is so poignant, because you're talking about going up that hill, and yeah, you got to do it everybody's got to do it. That's sort of a metaphor for life. We're all fighting our way up a hill every single day. You don't know much about what's going on in the person next to you's fight with that hill, but you know that they're fighting that hill. And just a little bit of community can help elevate everyone right to the top of that hill. It really can. And I feel like that's what the 50-mile march really shows us, Gina.
You're all sweaty and you stink. You're all along with everybody, and you're probably on your last bit of water that you have in your Camelback.
Yep, for
And
sure.
it's just a sign of relief of getting there. And you're like, oh my gosh, it's been 50 miles already. And it's just a crazy, crazy, awesome feeling.
Tell me this as somebody, if you were talking to somebody that's never done this before and they're wondering what it was that got you to come back for year 2, would you say that it's the mission, the people, or the challenge, or some mix of those three?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
All above. It's all above. And then we got home and my daughter and my girlfriend are like, oh my gosh, I want to do that. And then Steve and I look at each other and we're like, were we going to do a second year? And I go, I guess we're doing it a second year. So
that's so
we
cool.
are, and we're happy to. We just got to get going on raising our money, and $2,500 each person has to raise. And I think they want to raise 1 million this year. Last year they raised over $776 $1,000.
Something.
Yeah,
So,
something like that.
it's amazing, and we're all, we're full force right now because we need to do this 20-mile qualifying. So it's 20 miles qualifying, 15 pounds a weight in your rucking, and we have to do it at 3.2 miles per hour.
Wow. Well, good luck to you out there. I know you guys are going to knock it out of the park again this year. And Steve, I've got full faith, man, with the training. That back's going to take it easier on you this year, and you're going to be walking up the hill too. It's just about who are we going to get on the other side of the finish line to have their Steve there so that we can watch both of you guys come through and jump into somebody's arms, all right? If I need to fly out to Omaha, I'm willing, okay? Because I feel like
I'll jump into your arms.
Okay, all right. I feel like you deserve it, man. I really do.
So I don't know if we said that our coach is going to be there from Project 61 off shift as well.
Awesome.
So she is going to be with us, and one of my girlfriend's partners is going to volunteer as well. So
that's great. Well, Steve, if I can't make it, you've got your coach for Project 61. You jump into her arms. I'm sure she's in good shape, right? This has been such.
Be there at the finish line. Too bad you wouldn't be able to be there and do a little interview there. That would be like awesome.
It's something that we talked about a little bit. My problem here is I don't come from the same area that all of the great trucking happens in. I'm all the way out here in Eugene, Oregon, on the West Coast, and hearing you guys training out in Phoenix, I was thinking that's a great idea because I would not want to be training in the Midwest during these spring months when you can't trust the weather. I'm seeing what the weather's doing behind you in Louisville right now. Doesn't look like 3.2 mile an hour walking weather to me, but I don't know.
Son, my second oldest son lives in Eugene, Oregon. So
does he really?
Well enough. Yep, about the weather out there.
Well, I'll tell you what, if I don't make it to the finish line, but you come and visit your son sometime in Eugene, we'll do an in-person interview and talk about the second one, okay? How's that sound?
Sounds great.
Sounds like a plan.
That's awesome. Well, Steve and Gina Jones, you guys have been fantastic today. You've really given us a behind-the-curtain look at what the 50-mile march not only is, but does for people, and not just the people that participate, but the people that are involved, the people that volunteer, and the people that the 50-mile march supports, which are our veterans. And I just want to thank you guys so much for your time today. I give everybody that comes on this podcast what I like to call a short bit that we call final thoughts. And I just want you guys to say anything that we might have left on the table, any shout outs that you might want to give. If there was anything that you didn't say in this interview that you want to say, now's the time, and the floor is yours. You can talk for as long as you want to, but final thoughts for us, Steve and Gina Jones, before we let you get back to training for the 50-mile march.
Well, all I'll say is, and I'm sure Brianne covered this, but now that the 50-mile march has a physical location and plans to what they're going to do to it, that makes this more of a reality. So if anybody wants to just go on the 50-mile march page and do a donation, any donation will help. Nothing's too small, but they've got the physical location, the actual acreage of land, so things are moving in the right direction, and they'll be up and running before we can even know about it.
That's great. Thanks for that, Steve. Appreciate it. How about you, Gina? Final thoughts before we let you get back to it?
Just, pick a charity of your choice, get out there and do it. It's so important. For our veterans, especially, we just honor our veterans dearly. And not only because they're in our family or my husband, but they have done so much for us. Anybody can join from all over. We're from Arizona. We got walkers from every part of the United States. So, and you go to Omaha and you do it. And it's the best feeling ever. And if you've never felt that feeling before, you got to try it and do it.
I would say, based on this interview, there's no good reason not to, is what I could say. Great stuff here.
I can't think of a reason not to. And if you can't do it physically, there's always other ways to support it.
The pain only
Absolutely.
lasts for a short time. You'll get over it. You'll continue on and you'll feel good doing it.
Toenails grow back. Just remember
They
that.
do.
Toenails grow back, man. They do.
They're ready for the next round.
Steve and Gina Jones, I want to say, give me just a second for my outro here, because I want to say, Steve, thank you for your service to this great nation in the Army. Gina, thank you for being a military mom. And when you talk to them next time, thank those two sons as well for their service to this great nation. Thank you both for being truck drivers, moving all of our goods across this country. We would not have the country we have without you being the service members that you were, the support that you were, or the truckers that you are. You guys are highly decorated for a great reason. I want to thank you for all your time here today. It's been a fantastic interview. I feel like I've grown as a person just getting to hear your story here today. We're going to share it with as many people as we can. Good luck on this year's 50-mile march, and maybe we'll get you back on the other side of that finish line, talk to you about this year's, okay?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. I told you that this episode had some gravity, okay? And I told you it was the type of gravity that we should all sit with once in a while, and I don't think that that's wrong at all. Just listen to Gina talking about she's doing the 50-mile march for her son's friend, the Marine that never made it back. How much more powerful can you get for having a reason to do something? Getting off the couch, getting out of the truck, getting moving. I would say that's a pretty good one. And I just want to thank Brianne, Gina, and Steve for their time. They did not have to come on and give us so much time and give us so much emotion and so much of what the 50-mile march is really about, but they did that because they're fostering this community. They understand how much it helps to have people around you that support you. You listen to Gina talking about coming up to the finish line and how triumphant that moment was. And I want you to think about this. Imagine you've been married to somebody for 15 years. You've been together with them for 18. You got a pretty good idea what that person looks like at this point in time. And there were so many people there to support, so many fans, so many volunteers at the finish line of the 50-mile march that Gina had trouble locating Steve for this moment. Like, she wanted to be there with him, but there's so many people, she had to look for him for a little bit. That's the type of community we're talking about here. Not just a couple of people standing on the side of the road giving you a round of applause and a banana and some pickle juice on the way by. People that will literally rub your feet, tape your feet, take care of you, get you hydrated, get you rested, and get you ready to take on the next branch of the journey. The 50-mile march is such a cool organization, such a cool event. I want to tell everybody right now, head over to 50milemarch.org. We have not said that enough in this podcast. Again, the number 50 and then the words milemarch.org. That's where you can go. There's a donate button right up at the top there. You can donate. You can take part. You can figure out exactly what it is that that the whole 50-mile march thing entails. And if you're game, then jump in and let me know, okay? If you're a liquid trucking driver and you're participating in the 50-mile march, we want to hear from you. We want to support you. I will even donate to you right out of my own red wallet, okay? I've got it right here. It's in my back pocket. I got my credit card numbers all ready. If there's a liquid trucking driver out there, I got a donation for you, you bet, okay? But if not, maybe next year. That's fine. What we're doing here is we're building a community, we're building awareness, and we're hoping to just foster a community here alongside of the great people at the 50-mile march and all the great work that they are doing. Head on over to that website, once again, 50milemarch.org, and take a look at all the great things they're doing over there. And for those of you liquid trucking drivers close to the Omaha proper area, you could even go out. Maybe you could volunteer this year. Maybe you just want to go out and be at the finish line for when they all come through. You could do that as well. You're going to find all the info. 50milemarch.org. Thank you to Brianne Schuler. Thank you to Steve and Gina Jones for the amazing interviews that they gave, the time that they shared with us today. All we want to do is make this thing bigger, and we figured showing it to all of our great listeners here on the Liquid Trucking Podcast is one way to do that. So head on over to their website, make sure to donate, make sure to volunteer, make sure to show up at the finish line and cheer some veterans on. This is just a fantastic. I'm really going to drive that one home today because I'm a little bit angry about how amazing this is, and not in a bad way. Like, I'm angry because I haven't told enough people yet, and that's on me. 50milemarch.org. I'm shutting it off right there. Stay safe out there, Liquid. Keep the shiny side up and go to 50milemarch.org and kick a couple shekels in. Won't hurt.
Thanks for tuning in and being the gold standard of drivers on the road. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel and tune in next week for another episode of the Liquid Trucking Podcast.
Interested in finding out more about what it takes to bring a podcast like the Liquid Trucking Podcast to your fleet? Bulldog provides tailor-made top-to-bottom podcast production services. We'll meet your terminal staff, connect with your drivers, and bring you the content you want your drivers to hear. Type bulldog.works into your browser to connect with us and learn more about what we can do for your fleet. That's bulldog.works for podcasts, tenacious recruiting, and more.